Mr. Speaker.
House resumes and debate continues. Yes, I recognize the Honorable Prime Minister and the parliamentary representative for the Vikas constituency. Your mic is on.
Mr. Speaker. Yes. Yes. Okay. Mr. Speaker, thank you for recognizing me. I want to say to the Parliament for Roto South, I'm sorry I missed the Fetla Kudwe jumper. But I'm saying to all my friends in Barford State that I will not miss next year. But I was able to go to St. Anne's Feast in Mao. A good time there. I think better Sudan had a better time than me. And I will not speak to some of my favorite songs, Mr. Speaker. What happened in Set on Feast, stay in Set on Feast. Well, Mr. Speaker, it is really a distinct honor for me to rise to make my contribution to the budgetary proposals presented by our Minister for Finance, Honorable Dr. McIntyre. I think Dr. McIntyre's presentation of the budget assured me of the depth of talent which exists in this government and the Dominica Labour Party, and the continued confidence which the people of Dominica will continue to show in the Dominica Labour Party. As you are aware, Mr. Speaker, this is the first time in 19 years I am making a supporting contribution to the budget as opposed to presenting the budget. And I can tell you it feels good. But it was really interesting to listen and to appreciate the proposals which the Minister of Finance presented, the policies which he articulated, and to view them from his lens as Minister of Finance. Their lens that I understand very well of the balancing act that's required in the preparation of a budget. There are many competing interests. There are many demands. There are different priorities. We have to try to, in the budget, to seek to create jobs, policies and programs to create jobs and opportunity. Ensuring that the less fortunate among us are continue to be taken care of. The Minister of Finance and the Cabinet has to find the resources to finance the budget. Because as contrary to what Senator Paris understands, There's no money sitting there. Every month, every day you have to make it. This is why they call estimates. Estimates. You have to make it. Everybody wants more, but nobody wants to contribute. And a budget that really presents no taxes. And I will speak to some of the measures later down. If you look at the budgets that have been presented in the Caribbean over the last 3 years, you will see that all of them contain new taxes or increased taxation, and quite rightly so. Because I always say to people, every time you present a budget to the country, there is always a justification. There is always a need to consider taxation. But we in the government understand the need for us to protect the taxpaying public, to ease the burden on them, to allow them to have more of what they earn and to spend it in a manner in which they wish to do it. So I truly and honestly want to commend the articulation of Dr. McIntyre in his presentation of the budget. I think he did a fantastic job, Mr. Speaker. And those who know me know that I don't give marks for free. So I truly want to commend Dr. Mark for his presentation. This budget has been presented within a particular context. Sometimes when I hear some people speak in this country, they give the impression that this Labour Party inherited, as I say, a bombshell, a pot of honey, a pot of syrup, that every road was paved, every child was in school. There was no poverty in Dominica. Everywhere, every home had access to pipe-borne water. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, when this government came into office in 2000, every Caribbean country and every village in the Caribbean was laughing at Dominica. Every single road in Dominica was in a terrible state. I recall places like Portsmouth and Zikak, driving past, going to the health center where the health center was next to the Rodneys. All of that was mud. Mud. And we are driving on brand new roads, well-paved roads in Dominica, and we take this thing for granted. When we came into office in 2000, Mr. Speaker, only 7% of secondary school students had access to the college, which means that 93 out of 100 students in Dominica could not make it to a state college. 40% of primary school graduates had access to secondary school. Or people were staying home because they were owing the hospital some user fees. And they were afraid to be embarrassed because if you did not pay what you owing, you would not be able to come and occupy a bed at the hospital. We suffered the indignity, Mr. Speaker, of being on a plane in Antigua, Liège flight. And the air hostess and the pilot would announce that passengers going to Dominica should disembark because by the time we get over Dominica, it will be too dark. No night landing in Dominica. Our country was closed at 4 o'clock in the afternoon to the rest of the world. We could not pay our public officers when Labour Party got into office. We owed every single person around the world. We were not paying our debts. The Caribbean Development Bank had stopped giving money to Dominica because we had violated the rules, Mr. Speaker. The World Bank had suspended providing Dominica with loans because we had suspended the procurement rules. As a matter of fact, we had to repay the World Bank in order for us to come back to be able to borrow from the World Bank. And people talk as if, well, Dominica was so nice, boy, and see Skerrit come, see where we be, and see where we be. Just reflect, all of us, if we're honest in this country. How many of us did not have a university degree in 2000, and how many of us have today, and we understand the investment that Labour Party has made in education? When we created the State College in 2002, in the middle, at the beginning of the IMF austerity program, we created the State College and revolutionized access to tertiary education in Dominica. When we presented the plan to the cabinet in 2002, and we said we're going to introduce national universal access to secondary school in 5 years. So from 2002 to 2007, we achieved this. Member for Marigot, Senator Douglas, in 2005. 2 years in advance, notwithstanding the fact we were under an IMF program. And you know, the beauty of this, Mr. Speaker, I recall a lady. There are many other instances or examples. I remember a lady in her 40s working in the public service. She may have been at EO or senior clerk level. And she said to me, Prime Minister, I'd always wanted to be a nurse. But I could not got into school. And the lady resigned her job as a senior public officer and I'd go and attended the State College in her 40s and became a nurse in Dominica. When they talk about agriculture and support to agriculture, the only time a farmer will get help for agriculture is from Stabex funds. No monies were ever used from local revenue to help any farmer in Dominica before Labour Party came into office. And I recall a permanent secretary, he's involved in the ripening of bananas, Mr. Austri, saying publicly that he has been involved in agriculture all his life. And he said the first time a government used its own money for agriculture was when this Labour Party came into office. Hurricanes and storms would come. Farmers' homes would be affected and farms would be affected. They got nothing except those who had wind crop insurance. Many of us were around when Hurricane David hit, well, except with Lakia Joseph and so on. You don't know. Something, you know, Cassidy and Honorable Lloyd and Honorable George. All of you watching me, I can call my names. Homes were flattened in Dominica. Businesses smashed. And not $1 from the government. People had to go in the bush, in the forest, and cut wood, and to fix their homes, and to flatten drums to use as their roofing material. And what happened in Dominica when Maria came and Erica came? What did we do for the people of Dominica? We spent hundreds of millions of dollars helping people. There's no government in the history of our country prior to independence and post-independence who has been affected by so many external shocks and natural disasters. Mr. Speaker, I sort of liken myself to Job. The Lord has been testing Job and testing my leadership with external shocks and natural disasters. And when people think that we were going under, we rose up to the occasion. Earthquake in 2004. Trough in 2007. Trough in 2010. Another storm in 2013. Maria in 2015. Erica in 2015. Maria in 2017. Pandemic from 2020 to 2022, 2023. The Russia-Ukraine war. Prior to that, we had the financial crisis, which lasted from 2007 to 2015. The international oil crisis, when the price of oil went to as high as $150 per barrel. We have weathered all of these storms, all of these shocks, Mr. Speaker. The Iraq war, the invasion of Libya. All of these things impacted us. I'm not saying there, Mr. Speaker, that everything is rosy in Dominica. No, I'm not saying that we have a utopian society. But we cannot discount the fact, Mr. Speaker, that this government has provided the leadership that the country needed in those difficult times. Everybody said Dominica finished after Hurricane Maria. Finished. It took us 25 years to rebuild. And so, these are the things that we have to be dealing with, Mr. Speaker. When COVID came, everybody asked for a stimulus package because other countries were providing stimulus packages. And I said to the country, we are faced with not an economic crisis, we are faced with a health crisis. And our first order of business is to protect lives. Protect lives. And Senator Honorable Edwards told you or reminded the country that we are the only country who could have tested for COVID-19. Our lab was being certified by the CDC of the United States government. We never ran out of testing kits. We were a net exporter of medical supplies, Mr. Speaker. Because when we get, we share. That's how we operate. That's how we operate. And we had one of the most expansive and indeed expensive operations to care for our people. There were some who were saying 15,000 people are going to die. 15,000 people are going to die. 25,000 going to get the disease at one time. So people must not, people behaving as if, well, this country, and Honorable Dr. Henderson made the point that if we were not affected by these things, where would Dominica be today? And by the time when Hurricane Maria came, we had saved, Mr. Speaker, about $389 million, which speaks to the prudent management of the country. That's just after Erica, we were able to save $389. So when Maria hit us, we had $389 million saved in the bank. And that's outside of the $200+ million that we were saving for the international airport. You know what the intention I had with the savings? I had the intention of paying out our national debt by saving money. Because I wanted to bring our debt to GDP ratio to 20%. Unfortunately, hurricane came. Because in a matter of 3 years, I would have had enough money to pay our national debt. Pay everybody we owe. That's what we were doing. And then we had $200+ million for the international airport. What do I do as Prime Minister when people have no roofs? People have no jobs because their business is mashed up. Do I say, well, let me keep on saving for the airport, or to spend it on people? Spend it on people. No money coming in because everything coming in tax-free in Dominica. No VAT collected, no import duties, everything. But our expenditure increased exponentially. We were paying the salaries of many public, private sector entities. We paid engineers even for Domlec. Though Domlec was a private company, we had no shares in Domlec after the hurricane. Many businesses in Dominica. I see the general manager of DBS. We gave DBS the money for the whole salary of the staff for several months. Because at the time of the hurricane, we wanted to ensure we maintain the dignity of a man and a woman. That everybody could have a wage, a salary to go home with, notwithstanding the fact that we were affected. We could have kept that money, kept the cash in the treasury, and deal with all the issues. Deal with all issues. So this is the broad context, Mr. Speaker. And when you have a storm, when you have an external shock, the shock remains for some time. It's like an earthquake, you get aftershocks. Get aftershocks. And so, this is where we are, and we have had to borrow to save lives. And every time the Ministry of Health would send a bill, I said, boy, Jesus Christ, so much money we're spending, and so, we're spending. I should sign this warrants. But it was spending that was necessary at the time. We did not bring COVID upon us. We didn't bring COVID upon us. These things happen, Mr. Speaker. So this is the context we have been dealing with. We've been dealing with in respect to the Dominica. Look at Dominica. Look at the roads that we have. Look at our healthcare system in terms of the infrastructure and the advancements we have made. See how many specialists we have at the hospitals. Young Dominicans. So there are people who want to speak as if this country was, this place where everything was booming. I see Senator Douglas shaking his head. Boy, what Skerrit said is true, It's true. It's true. And so, Mr. Speaker, I also want to share some comments on the Citizenship by Investment program. One that has helped us in this country to transform the landscape of Dominica. That has enabled Dominica to respond and recover at a remarkable rate and pace from the devastation of Tropical Storm Erika, Hurricane Maria, and the pandemic. That has enabled us to rebuild homes and re-roof thousands of homes in this country. We spent tens of millions of dollars helping with re-roofing, new windows, new doors. I don't believe that there's one Dominican, Mr. Speaker, not one living Dominica who is alive and dead since 2000 who has not been touched by the Citizenship by Investment program in this country. Not one. Not one. Touch lives. That has created jobs and employment for several people, including the international award-winning resorts that we have in Dominica. And we will recall that when we came to Parliament to hatch out a piece of the Cabris National Park, the opposition opposed it. They didn't want the hotel to be constructed, now the Intercontinental Hotel. They wrote to UNESCO, they wrote to the World Bank, they wrote to the UN, they wrote to everybody, calling on them to stop the project because we're hatching out a piece from the Cabris National Park. They told Sam Raphael, I can call his name because in a positive way, Mr. Speaker, the rules allow for that, right? They told Mr. Sam Raphael, do not do any hotel with Skerrit. And I knew, and everybody knew, that Mr. Sam Raphael was no supporter of Roosevelt Skerrit and the Labour Party. But that wasn't the point for me. He was a businessman who has been making a serious contribution to Dominica, and we partnered with him and see what we have done there in Sofia today. See what we have. Utilizing these funds to build. A program that has rehabilitated our roads and restored several bridges. Several bridges and roads. Has allowed us to remain afloat in difficult times. Helping us protect the livelihoods of people in difficult times. That continues to positively touch the lives of every single citizen in this country. The 65 and over allowance, the 65 and over non-contributory pension, bringing decency to the lives of our senior citizens who work so hard for our country. And the Yes You Care program, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I speak of our Citizenship by Investment program. And the list goes on of the positive interventions that has made in this country. Yes, concerns have been raised, Mr. Speaker, by some of our partners regarding our CBI program, our programs within the OECS. As you are aware, Mr. Speaker, I, along with the other 4 prime ministers, met with the US in February. And we agreed on a 6-point program that the US advisors will help enhance our program's integrity. And just last month, July, we met with the EU Commission. This month, July, is still July, right? We met with the EU Commission. And I also met, Mr. Speaker, with officials of the United Kingdom government on a few occasions over the past few months. All in an effort to find ways to address the concerns raised by our partners. I have said to our friends in the British that I am disappointed that they took that action without allowing some of the actions that we have taken to bear fruit. But we respect their right to make a decision. And I will agree, Mr. Speaker, that on some of the measures we could have moved much faster. I agree on those things. But we're not going to sit and be daunted by this. Because for the last 18 months, we've been taking action. I will speak to those actions, Mr. Speaker, if you allow me. Over the last 18 months, we have implemented a number of measures to address their concerns. One, we have discontinued the granting of citizenship to citizens of Kurdistan region in Iraq, Belarus, and Russia. As a matter of fact, Mr. Speaker, we're the first country that stopped accepting applications from Belarus and Russia. We've issued regulations to restrict the changing of names by citizens, because that was one of the concerns raised by the British, that they felt it was too easy for citizens to change their names normally. And on my request and in the advice of the Attorney General, we put in systems in place to make it more difficult to change a name. All our CBI staff received anti-money laundering and countering terrorism financing training from a US-based firm. We restructured the Citizenship Investment Unit and engaged an expert compliance officer to ensure all procedures are updated and quality control is strictly followed, and our IT system is upgraded. We issued notices of our intention to revoke the citizenship of citizens who made false declarations or misrepresentations regarding their application for visas in partner countries. This is part of Dominica's legal requirement. We introduced biometric traveling documents to improve security and revised and updated the certificate of naturalization, including by increasing its security features. In addition to the due diligence checks conducted by the international firms in the US and the UK, along with the JRCC, we engaged Dominica's Financial Intelligence Unit to assist with the due diligence process. We also developed a new robust risk assessment and engaged firms from the US and UK to commence interviews of all CBI applicants. And we have been reporting monthly the applicants we have rejected to the JRCC and have given them written approval, permission to share the information with the other jurisdictions in the OECS. Mr. Speaker, we have striven to remain on the cutting edge of industry changes and requirements, and have been responsive to the requests and concerns of partnering countries, governments, and other entities. This is why, Mr. Speaker, I'm disappointed that in the eyes of the UK government, we were a bit slow to respond in a comprehensive manner to concerns that impacted the security and other interests of that sister country. And so we continue to make changes to our programs. We have a robust system. However, we need to continuously monitor and make the necessary and timely adjustments to what is an ever-changing environment. And in the weeks and months ahead, Mr. Speaker, we shall recruit an internationally vetted and respected management oversight team to advise on and oversee continued changes to the management and operation of our CBI program. And that process has started. Revoke the citizenship of those found to have made false declarations or misrepresentations regarding their application for visas in other countries. Introduce new certificate of naturalization, and that system has already approved. I think it will come to Cabinet soon for final approval. Undertake a comprehensive audit of our program, and this is one of the recommendations coming from the United States government. And we've also asked them to come in themselves and to examine our program. And just to say, go back, Mr. Speaker, we invited the United States Treasury Department, who have been very helpful to us, to come to Dominica, and they came in October last year. And it is out of their coming to do an independent assessment of our CBI program, they made those recommendations for the actions that we can take to improve our programs. Assess and reduce the number of agents and promoters of our CBI program. Strictly enforce the current regulations regarding the advertisement of the program by developers, agents, and promoters. Strictly enforce the regulated fees to be charged for citizenship. Further strengthen the legislation and procedure to further restrict the changing of names by citizens, and the Attorney General has started that process. Introduce robust legislation to strengthen the framework of the program. Hopefully by later this week we'll have new regulations in respect to further strengthening of our Citizenship by Investment program, which will go to Cabinet soon. And so we are fortunate, Mr. Speaker, that to date our partners have been very supportive to Dominica, its resilience agenda and the CBI program. And it is our hope that once we have fully addressed the concerns, we'll be able to fully protect the CBI program, and visa-free access to the UK will be restored, because they have given us the commitment that they'll continue to engage us and to review what we've done and to review their position. So we are hopeful that our actions will reflect and address the concerns of the United Kingdom and also the European Union, whom we have engaged in. But we have to appreciate, to Mr. Speaker, that the world has changed. That the issue of migration and immigration, countries have issues with it. And so even if you may not have any issues with your program, but overall they have a program with immigration and residency programs. All. And I heard the Senator Douglas talk about, well, with visa-free, the program is dead and so on. I have never been in the view that our program is tied to visa-free access to countries. This is why in the regulations we are opposed to anybody promoting our program in that vein. Yes, it will have an impact, but this behavior by some in the country that they want to see the CBI dead and no more revenue. So they don't have no genuine concern to say, well, Skerrit, I hope you address the issues and we can come back and we can be stronger like before. No. They're on their knees praying to. This cannot be the God of Abraham and Isaac you're praying to. It cannot be. Hoping that it ends. So that the Hesika can go away, the NEP can go away, the House Revolution can stop, that the airport can stop, that the extension of the runway Douglas Charles to sustain the direct flights from the United States can go away, that the hotels will stop and no jobs. That's what the opposition wants for Dominica. But this is why they will never get into office, Mr. Speaker. And I see the member for Marigot smiling and saying, well, it's scary, you know what I'm talking about, you know. It's scary, what are you talking about? So this is where we are, Mr. Speaker. And so in this budget, as we've done in other budgets, we are focusing on the productive sectors. We have increased the budget allocations for agriculture. This is why we've been committed to geothermal. And I got all sorts of recommendations about solar and so on and this and that and all these things, and everybody should have your own solar system. While they might sound theoretically good, and I'm not an expert on energy, I'll let to Dr. Henderson to speak to. But we have to be careful as to what we repeat. Once somebody writes something for you, you have to check it for yourself. Don't go and just read this thing. Check it for yourself. When you go in Tartan where you stay in there, Honorable Senator, and you have 5 homes around you, those 5 homes, they share the cost of electricity. When you take them off the grid, you take 3 off the grid, it means that your neighbors are going to pay more. They'll pay more, and then you'll have a system where it cannot sustain itself, and then the ordinary man in Marigot, Sam's Gutter, Fine Grass, North End, won't be able to have electricity because you cannot supply them anymore. It makes no sense to supply them. It's too expensive. So, when you see a figure, you must analyze it. So don't say, I see the figure in the budget. You have to analyze it. What does it mean? You have to comprehend it. So, let us understand Our commitment to geothermal, yes, it's been taking long, but when the world hasn't taken long, the French have been trying to develop in Guadeloupe, Guyat, for the last 60 years. It's a difficult thing. It costs a lot of money. How much money we have to spend, because no private sector entity is going to spend money for the exploratory phase. So we have to spend this. For any private sector person to come to spend it, you have to get it to a point where you confirm, as a matter of fact, scientifically, that there is energy there. And we remain committed to it, notwithstanding the shocks we've had, the disasters that we have faced, because we believe that is important for the future of our economy. We don't know what tomorrow will bring. But we know, as of today, Mr. Speaker, it will make a huge difference in the lives of ordinary Dominicans, investments in Dominica, the cost of living, Mr. Speaker, and put more money in people's pockets. So we're committed to it. But when they speak about geothermal, it's not about, can we get it tomorrow morning? No. It's about an undermining of it, hoping that it doesn't work. That is the attitude we have in the opposition. We invested in tourism, Mr. Speaker. Public-private partnerships. All of this, Mr. Speaker, is to create jobs. Whether it's the cable car, whether it's the marina, Mr. Speaker, which will transform Portsmouth and the Vickers constituency. The marina is close by you. It's 7 minutes from my constituency. Create jobs. They don't speak about this thing, but they don't want these things. Even today, they're attempting to stop the international airport. Want to go to court. They say no EIA when you give a copy. They tell you pages fast. Investing in those things, in tourism, improving the sites, training people, making Dominica cleaner, more beautiful, more attractive, promoting resilience in our agriculture, in our tourism. And so we're committed to tourism, committed to ensuring that we grow tourism because it can create jobs. Small business, this is a small business government. Yes. There's no party in our history who has provided support to small business than this Labour Party government. We created the Small Business Unit and have provided millions of dollars in grants to small businesses. Small business in Dominica is the biggest employer of people in Dominica today. Transforming primary products into secondary and tertiary products, exporting. Mr. Speaker, the reality is, I do not believe that the statistics are capturing the impact and contribution of small business to our GDP. Because you see, a lot of these things are done informally. When we export oils, coconut oil, and honey to Guadeloupe and Martinique, we pass it as personal luggage. And cocoa sticks, spices. It's passed as luggage. We send 5 boxes. But these 5 boxes of honey is €3,000. This extra virgin coconut oil, Minister for Agro-Processing, Agro-Industries, and Nature Blends. When you export coconut oil to Martinique, Guadeloupe, and St. Croix and St. Thomas in the United States, it is not captured in the data. But we continue to provide support, not only grants, but loans at concessionary rates, 3% at the aid bank. So far, $16 million have been approved. People across Dominica. And if small business people, and I think they were honestly themselves when we met with them during the budget consultation, they were full of praise and gratitude to the government. This is the small business government. Agriculture, I point to agriculture. You will see an increase, Mr. Speaker, of investment in agriculture. Planting more coconut palms, more long-term cocoa, coffee, soursop, and trade and agriculture and Dexter have joined forces, and they're going to be going to every island in the Caribbean to engage the market. To engage the market. And with the construction of the research and development facility at 1 mile in Portsmouth by the Chinese, and I thank the Chinese government for this, $10 million, to develop tissue culture plants, pest and disease resistant plants. You've seen the remarkable work done by trade and agriculture in regards to white potatoes, Mr. Speaker. This year, 68% of our imports were replaced, Mr. Speaker. 68%.
15 more minutes.
68%, Mr. Speaker. Every time I come to the house, my time must go fast. When I get to, because if you give me more time now, they don't add the 15%, they don't add it to it. So when I come to my end, I'll take more time. And we've spoken that I believe we can grow white potatoes year-round in Dominica. Year-round. And that's going to happen next year. Year-round we can plant potatoes. I have tried it. That can go in anytime, anywhere in Dominica. Can you imagine that it grows in Mont Daniel? So it can go anywhere in Dominica, that's my view. Construction, Mr. Speaker. Construction. So many housing and road infrastructure. I drove through Castle Bruce yesterday on Saturday, and to see the quality of work and the improvement there to the access to those communities. $127 million invested there. Enhancing the safety and economic opportunities for the people of Castle Bruce and the Carnago territory and at Kingston. Because with roads, more people will come. More trade and commerce will take place. And we have to position ourselves to take advantage of this $127 million investment. Homes being built with local contractors, buying all the local materials from local suppliers. Investing to grow the economy, Mr. Speaker. And I listen to the opposition, Mr. Speaker. I'm not going to say anything about the leader of opposition herself, right? You're not going to say anything about this. But no, I would say no. But I can say to the people of Salisbury, because we talk about I don't like Salisbury. I believe Salisbury has some of the most wonderful people, hardworking people, bright, successful people. And the reality is, there are few who try to give Salisbury a type of name that does not reflect the people of Salisbury. They're respectful people, decent people, people who have made a tremendous contribution to Dominica's economic development. And they want to peddle this notion that Skerrit don't like. Mr. Speaker, I can tell you without any fear of contradiction, I have no ill will to anybody in Dominica. Anybody in Dominica? None whatsoever. None. But we have been doing work in the Salisbury constituency. We've spent monies on roads, including the main road in Salisbury. Many roads in Salisbury constituency. Rehabilitated the Salisbury Primary School. Completed a new water system for Salisbury. As a matter of fact, we have done a new water system for Cooley Street, was washed away by Erica. Just a few months before we had done that. $5 million spent in a water system. Install a number of street lights based on the requests of the community. Renovated several homes which were destroyed by Maria. A number of families have benefited from the housing program with funds from the World Bank. 3. The full rehabilitation of the Salisbury Heights Road up to the intersection of Macushri. And then we ran a second project to rehabilitate a greater part of Piti Macushri Road. Cleaned up and dredged the Cooley River. And since then, there has been no overflowing of the banks in Cooley Street. Millions of dollars spent there dredging the river. As we speak, Mr. Speaker, there are 41 people in Salisbury engaged under the National Employment Program, the NEP. 13 people, senior citizens, are receiving care under the Care program. Plus, we have caregivers providing them care. 166 people from Salisbury receiving the 65 and over allowance every month. Every child in the Salisbury constituency receives free transportation to secondary school paid for by us. And the parrot has received, just like me as a parrot for bakers, and I don't get more than her, and we're supposed to get more than everybody else, Mr. Speaker. But the same 50 I gave myself, the same 50,000 she got for constituency allowance. We financed the carnival this year in Salisbury. Finance it. So, we can say we want more. That's fine. But don't say you're not getting it. Don't give the world the impression that the government is not falling on so this is not right. This is not true. I have nothing personal to say about the opposition leader. But one thing, Mr. Speaker, one thing with the member for Marigot, he knows how to say thanks. And I know the gentleman for a long time. His father is my personal friend. We're still friends. I know why he had to support last time. His mother would not see me anywhere in Dominica, anywhere in the world without she come and give me a hug and tell me hi and so on. So I have. We'll work with him. We'll work with him to bring improvement and change to Marigot. But the same $50,000 he got, and once we pass the budget, he get another top up, Mr. Speaker. It is the same $50,000 that we offered the former MP, and he never took it. And the Salisbury MP, former MP of Salisbury, never took the $50,000. And Roosevelt never took it. Can you imagine, Mr. Speaker, you are a member of parliament for people who need help, and you're getting $50,000 cash, and you're not taking it because you want your people to think that the Labour Party does not love them, Mr. Speaker? That's not good. Are you guys' hearts made of stone? There is no blood flowing. There is no sensibility. So we are working. We'll work with them, and I intend to visit Marigot so I can visit some of the concerns that you have, and to find solutions jointly with you and the people of Marigot to solve those problems. And so we continue to support. We give the Marigot Mayfest money. We give them money. I think we got $15,000 or so With the parrot, we revived St. Peter's Feast in Marigot. I won't tell you how much he got because the check was too big, Mr. Speaker. But there's no, if you reach out to us, we help. That's what it is. So I gave the commitment to the people of Marigot and Salisbury that, look, there are not many people in Dominica who love you more than Skerrit. I will come. I will come visit you. No problem. The other matter I want to respond to, Mr. Speaker, is the attack on the health professionals, the nurses and doctors. People believe one day attacking the hospital is media attacking. Mr. Speaker, I don't give people nobody injection hospital, you know. I'm not the one dressing people, you know. I'm not the one who is telescope checking your vitals, you know, Mr. I don't know, not me. My responsibility as Prime Minister of this country, and our responsibility as government of the country, is to ensure that we have facilities, we have doctors, nurses, and the resources. If a patient is not treated nicely or properly, you can't hold me responsible for that. But the reality is, Mr. Speaker, 99.9% of the time we go to these health facilities, we get good care. We get good care. I mean, a nurse and a doctor, the human beings, I mean, when this nurse is working for a long shift and they're tired and there's so many people, the beds are full and everybody who comes wants to be treated first, you'll get a reaction. Half an hour.
4 more minutes.
I beg to move that the Prime Minister and Member of Parliament for the Vicar's constituency be given 30 more minutes to make his contribution.
It has been moved and seconded that the Honourable Prime Minister and Member for Vicar's be given an additional 30 minutes. Those in favour? Those against? The ayes have it. Honourable Prime Minister, I given an additional 30 minutes. Is your mic on?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I heard the Senator Laura because say, well, one Skerrit finish, well, that's it for me. I go. And then, you know, I want to caution the senators that being the House is serious business. This trivializing of things and this and so on. This we have to be. I cautioned you guys last time about this thing. We have to be careful with this thing of trivializing thing and you know, let us do this thing with decorum and seriousness. Then I heard Senator Parrish talk about budget. Where's the document? Give it to me. You see, it's written draft. You see, it's written draft estimates. And estimates. So he made reference, for example, to you only have $5 million for the future housing program, and you say you're going to build 50 homes. 5 million divided by 50 is 100,000. Yes. But you have put in the budget what you expect or propose to spend for that year. Next year you'll put more. And if you spend more than the 5 million, the drafters of the Constitution anticipated that, so they allow for supplementary appropriations. But if you were to put the whole figure, so if the airport costs over $1 billion, you can't put the whole $1 billion in your estimates. You put what you project you will spend, what you estimate you will spend. And so when the Minister of Finance will report to Parliament, he will say what was actually spent and what was actually earned by way of revenues. But I don't understand for the grace of me that a guy who's proposing himself to be such a bright guy, and a businessman and this and that, no, and then something so basic that you do not understand and you're involved in construction. You know, I mean, so sometimes you don't want to respond to these things. But I think we have a duty and obligation to inform and educate, because some people also listen to this thing. Yes. And they believe. So sometimes you have so much things to talk about, but it's important for us to inform and educate on this matter so that people don't misrepresent the facts. So we're not saying, Mr. Speaker, that people don't get bad treatment. Wherever you go in Dominica, everywhere you go in Dominica, you go to the supermarket, go everywhere. We have to address the issue of our interpersonal relationships. We have to ensure as a society that we're more caring, we're more empathetic. But let us not give the world the impression that we have a health crisis in Dominica. No. But you know why they're doing that, Mr. Speaker? Because of the extraordinary investments that this party has made in health. They said that I don't understand the Chinese language. We're just going to patch and paint and change some galvanize at the hospital. Now they see a modern, first world country, developed country hospital with equipment that they laughed at me. Yes. When I came to this house and I said we had a HIFU machine. But Mr. Speaker, the record will show that close to 100 people have benefited from those interventions at the hospital. A few years ago, Dominicans had to go to Antigua and Guadeloupe and Barbados to do an MRI. Now we have Dominicans, residents overseas, coming to Dominica to do an MRI because it's cheaper here. We have citizens from other countries coming to Dominica to do surgeries because the hair is cheaper in Dominica. So that's what they want. They want to crowd. They want to put a blanket over the tremendous improvements that we've made in healthcare in Dominica. Brand new health centers, brand new hospitals. And we have to be very careful in Dominica that we don't seem to want to show appreciation. We thank the Chinese government for this hospital. Yes, as long as you're on earth and you're alive, there'll always be room for improvement. There's always something we can do better. There's always something we can do differently. But we can't discount the fact that our healthcare system in Dominica is better now than ever before. Ever before. And I'll tell you, Senator Douglas, that when we came into office in Dominica, we only ended up having an ICU in 2005. When we came into government, we had a one second-hand dialysis machine which Dr. Shillingford got from Guadeloupe. Now we have 14 and we'll be having dialysis treatment at the Marigot Hospital. So the patients from Marigot and Calabishi and Atkinson and Western Woodford don't have to come to Roosevelt for dialysis treatment. They'll be getting it in Marigot Hospital. X-rays, surgeries, etc., Mr. Speaker. So let's understand this a bit, Mr. Speaker. Let's understand this a bit. That we have to appreciate the fact that we have stuff to do, Mr. Speaker. And now I will speak to the issue of electoral reform. And it was said on the other side that and it's said by some people peddling there that we do not want electoral reform. We have never put money into electoral reform. Mr. Speaker, as I have said before on numerous occasions, I definitely want this issue of electoral reform to be something of the past in Dominica. Well, I will demonstrate to you, Senator Douglas, our commitment to electoral reform. As you know, we were affected by Erica in 2015, August of 2015. In March of 2016, the government gave the Electoral Commission millions of dollars to advance the process of electoral reform. 90% of our GDP was affected by Erica. Hundreds of families were displaced. 2 communities had to be evacuated. And we still went ahead and gave the Electoral Commission the monies to implement electoral reform. We gave them more staff. That's why they have a PRO today. They never had a PRO before. And the function of the PRO was to advance the public education on electoral reform. We paid for the machines to issue the national ID cards, a company out of Europe. Both the hardware and the software sitting in the basement of the Electoral Commission since 2017. As a matter of fact, Mr. Speaker, we had a gentleman who worked in the audit department. He has an audit background. A gentleman called Mr. Larocque, who was the Chief Elections Officer. And because of his frugal nature as an auditor, he had cut down on the budget that was submitted to cabinet. And I sent it back. I said, no, we will pay for every single thing because I don't want anybody to think that we cut down on the budget for electoral reform. The only thing that was missing, Member of America, the only thing that was missing for electoral reform to be consummated was the legislation. And we brought the legislation to Parliament. And there was a stampede, a rush from the Parliament to seek to come inside the Parliament by opposition forces. And in the advancement of peace and tranquility in Dominica, I decided to stand down the passage of the legislation. Electoral reform, a number of things, ID cards. It doesn't that, and you guys didn't want it because you felt that we were going to, and not reading it. It was a judgment of the court we're seeking to put into law. Yes. It's already law, it's a judgment of the court. It's already law. And so, we decided to stand it down. And I asked the Attorney General to write to the leader of the opposition and all stakeholders, give them a draft of the document again and tell us what you do not want in the legislation. And tell us what you want in the legislation. They never responded. They never responded. And that legislation was reviewed by the Commonwealth Secretariat, the legal and political arm of the Commonwealth Secretariat. And they told us, Mr. Speaker, that the legislation that we bring to Parliament would address their observations made during the observance of our elections in Dominica and international best practices. Recognizing that we could not get consensus among ourselves as political leaders in the country, we decided to get an independent arbiter. And this is how we went to Sir Dennis Byron, who is the most respected jurist in the entire Caribbean, Mr. Speaker. A man of impeccable character and integrity. We brought him so he can independently look at what we've been doing, look at our political system and get stakeholders. And to arrive at a document that he believes in his own mind, his own deliberations, would suit the times and would address the concerns of the publics, the various publics in the country. He consulted with the opposition several times and various groups. The opposition demanded the report be made available to the public. When the report comes, they say they don't want the report. But, Mr. Speaker, this is not a Roosevelt Skerrit document. It is not a cabinet document. It's not a government document. It is a report presented to the people of Dominica by the sole commissioner, Sir Dennis Byron. And it is left to us as mature people in the country who, if we are serious about Dominica, to sit around the table and to go through the report paragraph by paragraph and to say what we agree with, what we don't agree with. Those we agree with, let's put it aside and let's negotiate those we don't agree with. But to say carte blanche, you do not want the report, it is clear that you're not interested in advancing the cause of electoral reform. You're not interested in that. And so, Mr. Speaker, some of the fundamental points in this report are really issues of the verification exercise. And the intention of this, Mr. Speaker, is to address the quote-unquote bloated list, so that everybody who is on this list must present him or herself to be verified. If they cannot verify you, then you'll be off the list. If you do not show up within a specific period of time that the law will prescribe, you'll be removed from the list. And so the list will come down to what all of us would believe would be the real list. And in Sir Dennis' report, he is describing to us how we can achieve this. Then the other issue is access to the media that he has recommended. Then you have issue of residency of Dominicans living overseas. Then you have the issue of whether Dominicans whether the Electoral Commission should go where Dominicans reside overseas, or Dominicans come to Dominica to verify the names. We have to agree on those things. And national ID cards. There are some who think that we should have a national ID card. There are some who think we should have a voter ID card. For me, Mr. Speaker, if Dominicans want voter ID card, then let's go with voter ID card. Let's go with it. It's okay with me. It's okay, but we can't play in a game, Senator Douglas. You cannot say you want something because you think Skerrit oppose it, and when Skerrit say you want it, you oppose it. And that is the silly game you guys are playing in the country. Mr. Speaker, people watching me and say, is not the only reason why Skerrit win because no electoral reform, Mr. Speaker. People know. I mean, if you will win when you have an intrinsic love for people, when you can empathize with people's circumstance. The problem you have in opposition, you guys are driven by hate. Hate. Yes. Hate. No love for people. When you're raising funds, you're never raising funds for nobody. It's about yourself. Yourselves. Nothing about for nobody who is sick, nobody got in an accident. And so, Mr. Speaker, I will say to the country again that I want electoral reform. And let us try to get it before the end of the year. Let us go to Parliament. But all I will say to those in the country, Mr. Speaker, that I have no intentions of dragging this electoral reform agenda up until next election. It's going to happen in Dominica. We will come to the Parliament and pass legislation that we have consensus on in this country. And this foolishness that men are playing in this country, dragging this thing, has to come to a stop. So it's either you're part of the consultation, or you're not. Campaign finance reform. The other talk is campaign finance reform. But let me say to us, Mr. Speaker, there is nowhere in the region that has legislation that has been proposed. But we have to be careful with this, The issue of campaign reform, you see, you and them believe that issue of campaign reform only has to do with where Labour Party will get the money from. But it goes beyond that. It will require the Treasury of Dominica providing funding, election funding, to candidates and to political parties. Of course you must have a component of that. And what's going to happen is that people like you, Senator Douglas, you're going to form a party because you have money sharing. So let's bring men together. Let's bring together, boss, let's get our share. Let's get our share. So you're going to want us to impose an election levy on taxpayers of Dominica, on the bus drivers of Dominica, the small business owners of Dominica, so that we can fund political parties? Then how do you define campaign financing? When you look at the United States, for example, when you talk about campaign financing, the Treasury of the United States provides funding. You can choose not to accept it, so there's no limit in how much you raise. There's no limit.
Honorable Prime Minister, I like what is happening. This is unprecedented. I seen a nice back and forth. Yes, continue, Honorable Prime Minister.
Thank you for the extra time, Mr. Speaker. But you know the difference between the Labour Party and the opposition? That when we raise money for elections, Mr. Speaker, we spend it on elections. And so you know the inverse of that. When you get it, you don't spend it on elections. But we wish to proceed with electoral reform, Mr. Speaker, and fast, so we can put aside. Mr. Speaker, we speak about the international airport. And notwithstanding decisions external to us, we are confident, Mr. Speaker, that the international airport will continue with no mishaps, no difficulties. We'll continue to ensure the international airport is constructed for Dominica. Roseau enhancement. I know my dear para for Roseau get a little anxious about the Roseau enhancement project. But I give the para for Roseau and my wonderful folks in Rural Central and City of Roseau and Dominica by extension that Roseau enhancement is here. We will see the improvement of the sidewalks. We will see the covering of drains. We will see the improvement of the aesthetics. And we will see a continuation of the ushering in of a new city. New city, Mr. Speaker, in Roseau. And so we're working, as I told you, and I think Minister of Foreign Affairs may have said so, with the Saudi government. They were here for a week. They left last week, Mr. Speaker, and so far they've given us a small grant of $2 million US. That is going to go to the Roseau Enhancement Project, but we have submitted to them a broader project, 6 streets. And so they have examined this, they're satisfied with what they've seen, so we're just waiting for the Crown Prince to make his final determination on this, Mr. Speaker, and we're very confident that they'll help us. Quickly, Mr. Speaker, I want to talk about the social safety net programs. The issue of the housing revolution, the transportation of our students, books and uniform programs for our children, the non-merit scholarships and grants for tertiary education. And just to give you an example, Mr. Speaker, in 2015, we spent $8 million on overseas students. In 2018, it grew to $22 million, Mr. Speaker. $22 million. Providing grants to students who will never see the light of day or secondary of university. I went to school in the United States, I got not $1 from the government. I mopped floors, I washed dishes to pay for school. I was a big musician in a school band with my responsibility to carry the instruments. Paid school on credit cards. When I left school, I was owing university. I came back and I started working. I took a loan at the Roseau Credit Union and sent the money to the school. I applied to law school in Barbados in 1992. I got accepted, but I didn't have no money to go to law school. And I think I would have been the best lawyer in Dominica, but, you know. And we have spent millions. I think sometimes we make the thing look so easy. We don't complain. And I'm warning Dominicans. I am warning you. I am not here for very long, Mr. Speaker, but I'm warning Dominicans that we must not take things for granted. All of these programs are policy programs. They're an act of the cabinet. They can change overnight. If I want to stop the SUK program or the NEP, I can do so tonight, Mr. Speaker, by way of a decision. Let us not take this for granted. When we give you a house, thank God you got a house. Take care of it. Appreciate it. We give you a degree. Make use of it. It's an investment. When you make an investment, you must make money out of it. Don't complain. If the money is late, thank God for that. It's late, but you're in school. You know, or in the bank. Let us warn about this. Free health care, Mr. Speaker, for people 60 and older and 18 and younger who don't have insurance. Medical travel. While the Minister for Finance was presenting his budget there on last week Tuesday, Mr. Speaker, a file was passed to me. $60,000 to send somebody overseas. These are the kinds of things we are supporting, Mr. Speaker. Even burial grants to allow the ordinary man or woman to have a decent burial. We don't talk about those things. The SUK program that has caused people to live longer because they're getting care now. They've been bathed, their homes been cleaned, they do pedicure and manicure, they pass petroleum jelly on their legs and their feet. Cook for them. Comb their hair. And you know, Mr. Speaker, you know what all of these things cost the government annually? $150 million. Annually. $150 million that we are putting at the disposal of Dominicans. And the majority of those funds come from the Citizenship investment program. $150 million. Now, if we stop all these programs tonight, we would save the Treasury $150 million in its upcoming financial year. But we shall not, because we believe these are important interventions which are benefiting the people of Dominica. In Grand Fort, alone, for the NEP, we send $150,000 there each month. I'm not mentioning Grand, and so forth. I'm mentioning those places, Mr. Speaker, because with a 5-ton truck, we have to send it. There's a 20-wheeler to bring the check to those constituencies, Mr. Speaker. But we have seen how the NEP, a component of the NEP, has helped transform our communities. Beautification, cleanliness, and importantly, Mr. Speaker, we have provided, especially single mothers, with the dignity of being independent of some man, Mr. Speaker, that the ladies can get the $1,000 and say, no man cutting salary there, no way. They can save and they can buy the stuff for the children and go and buy the personal stuff. And we've created the NEP such that these people can stay close to their homes to take care of the children. There's a multiplicity of benefits of that intervention. It is properly crafted and conceived. And the NEP, $60 million every year being provided, $5 million every month in the pockets of Dominicans. We're not saying, Mr. Speaker, everything is rosy in Dominica, but to find $5 million every month to put in the pockets and the hands of people across Dominica is no small amount. But these programs have been conceived, they have been developed, and they've been implemented because this government has empathy, has love for people. We live among the people. We know how they live. We know how they survive. We know their challenges. We'll not always be able to address all the issues because when you pray to God, He doesn't give everything all the time. So, farmers for me. Farmers for me. So we can't do everything all of the time. Because you pray, Jesus, I want this, I want that. No. That He tell you, not now. Not now. Because, but us, we have to do, we give from what we have. And Dominicans know this party, Dominicans know this government, Dominicans know me that when we have plenty, we give plenty. And when we have little, we give from the little that we have. And that's what He said. So, ladies and gentlemen, friends, we are spending this kinds of money in the Treasury, Dominica. I will leave the matters to my constituency. I have authorized Senator Oscar George to report on matters relating to the Vickers constituency. But these are wonderful people there, Mr. Speaker. All I will say. Genuine souls who have stood with me all of these years. And every election in increasing number. Increasing number. Wonderful place. Wonderful people. That's where my strength cometh, Mr. Speaker. The mountain tops. We don't talk about what we do among ourselves because we do it for ourselves. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you and congratulate Dr. Mark again and the ministers who spoke thus far, the PAL reps and so on. You've been fantastic. And I can say I've seen some improvements. Very good. What we have to continue to work on is increasing implementation. There are inherent challenges in the system. Sometimes some of these funds are externally provided, grants and loans. They have from protracted. So while we are ready in Dominica, the external agency may not be ready because they control and manage the procurement processes. You understand? But we are making progress in Dominica. As I said, the ministers indicated that we engage in ourselves in a national reset, that we have to do things a little bit differently, a little smarter, more efficiently, so we can be more effective. But we will agree that there is no other political organization in this country that has what it takes to manage the affairs of Dominica at this time and in the foreseeable future other than this Dominica Labour Party. And the honest people in Dominica, including those who don't support us, will tell you, boy, you can say what you want, but you see that pandemic thing there, boy, and that's Russia-Ukraine war, boy, it's good thing Labour in government because, we have to be true for ourselves, we support our party, but I don't think we could handle that. That is you don't be. And so, Mr. Speaker, let us do what we have to do. There are lots of investments there. We have to implement there. We are committed to it. We are sincere about our issue with electoral reform. I can tell you, I want it to be dealt with by the end of this year. We have written to the Commonwealth Secretariat. We've written to the OEC Secretariat. We've written to CARICOM Secretariat. We've written to the OAS. The OAS has agreed to send someone to Dominica to assist in the consultative process. We have, Commonwealth has indicated they'll send someone to be part of the consultative process. The OACS have said they'll send someone. I need to follow up with the Secretary General of the CARICOM to send someone who can be part and observe and to assist with the consultative process. We will have 10 days of consultation straight from the 14th of August. Various stakeholders, different groups, And so let us elevate the discourse. Let us, if we say we are sincere and we are bright people and we are mature people, let it be reflected in our actions and in our words and our engagement. And so it's not wise to say, well, we don't want it, or we don't want. What do you want? And what don't you want? Let's define that. And so on. So there are challenging times with this Russia-Ukraine war. Because people thought it was going to be a few months. It's 16 months now. And it looks like it's going to be for a long time. And this has had serious challenges. Countries spending a lot of money on this war, and therefore the ability to help us in this part of the world is more remote now than it was some months ago.
One more minute.
I just taking a minute to come there. That's why. Just a minute. So there are some unknowns ahead. We're mindful of that. This is why we want to grow the economy. And when people talk about the debt to GDP, Mr. Speaker, we understand what that is. But once we grow the economy, we'll see debt to GDP go down. And to prepare succeeding generations for debt payment, we're creating a fund, a debt repayment fund, so we can save. And we're seeking to capitalize that fund. We will not be able to touch it until it gets to $142 million. So that succeeding generations will have some funds to pay for debts in Dominica. We've also created a vulnerability reduction risk fund. And we created that fund in the middle of COVID. And we started saving $500,000 every month diligently in that fund, which is established and set up at the central bank. Once things get better, with our cash flow, we'll increase the capitalization of this fund so that in the event of a natural disaster, in the event of an external shock, we can draw down on this. And in just a few months, Mr. Speaker, it is about $17 or $19 million so far. So it's growing. That's why it's so important to save. So we have been a responsible government. We have been a prudent government. And had we not been responsible and prudent, we would not be where we are. Highlighted so many positive things happening in this country. And you guys working for eyes closed, that's all the problem. Working for eyes closed, I'm done. I must forcing my hand when the Speaker is concerned. But, Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much. I thank the House for giving me the extra time. And I want to say again, I support this budget 100%. I believe that it is a budget of the times, for the times, and I believe if we properly implement it, we'll see the true benefits of the results of the budget provisions in there. And again, congratulations to Dr. Mack on his presentation. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister Alfred.